Welcome back to third lecture of unit number 6, Advanced Air Conditioning Systems. This lecture we will discuss the third type of advanced air conditioning systems, that is thermal storage air conditioning system. These are the main contents of today's lecture, that is classification of thermal storage system, then working principle of thermal storage system, especially for different loading conditions, benefit of the thermal storage system or conventional system, then different commercial thermal storage systems used in combination with the conventional system. Optimize your energy usage with thermal and battery energy storage. This is a tagline of one of the reputed company, Trane, which manufactures air conditioning systems. If we see the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems mainly accounts almost 40% of energy usage in commercial buildings. So leveraging energy storage technologies help lowering operating cost and reduce pressure on the utility grid. Thermal storage system can be classified by many ways. Technology-wise, it is a sensible thermal storage energy, latent energy, or thermochemical energy. Then storage material-wise, some molten salt material is also used, phase change material, or the combination of water and ice. Application-wise, thermal storage system can be used for distinct heating or cooling applications, then process heating and cooling applications, and thermal storage system is also used for power generation cases. End user, industrial as well as residential and some commercial air conditioning systems. These thermal storage systems are nowadays used, and this is one of the energy conservation techniques considered in air conditioning applications. Some utilities also, the thermal storage systems are used. This is a generic diagram of thermal storage system. Here we will consider the example of chill water thermal storage system. So this is a chiller, a typical chiller. Chiller mainly consists of evaporator, condenser, and compressor assembly. And in order to condense the refrigerant in the condenser, the cooling medium is used. Most probably it is cooling water, and whatever the heat is absorbed in the condenser with the help of this cooling water, it is dissipated to the atmosphere through the cooling tower. So this is our conventional cooler of some certain capacity. Thermal storage systems is provided with the chiller with the storage tank, thermal storage tank with some piping arrangement. Now, thermal storage system is mainly suitable for the application of variable load. It is not recommended where the load is constant or the demand is constant, because under that circumstances, its use is insignificant, because the constant load is there, and then the chiller of that capacity provide that load. So this particular device is mainly applicable when there is a variation of load. So there are four operation of the load. So the first operation, that is charging with load. Under that load condition, when the demand is less than the capacity, suppose for example our demand, so this chill water, it goes to the demand, that is application, maybe a building application or a conditioning application, or any heat source application. So this is a supply chill water line. This is a return chill water line. Now, for example, if the demand is less than capacity, means suppose your capacity is 100 kilowatt, we consider the chiller capacity is 100 kilowatt. And now in that case, demand is 75 kilowatt. But the chiller is continuously working at 100 kilowatt. So what will happen in this case? A 75 kilowatt the chill water required for 75 kilowatt is supplied through this line. This is supply line, and the remaining chill water that is generally a 25 kilowatt capacity chill water is remaining. So that chill water is stored in the storage tank. This is a chill water storage tank through this two-way valve, and it is stored. So in this case, this particular mode is called as a charging with load. So the chiller handles the load as well as it charges the storage tank. The second mode is when the demand is almost negligible. In that case, suppose demand is only a 10 kilowatt and almost it produces 100 kilowatt, but the chiller continuously producing 100 kilowatt, only the chill water which is required for 10 kilowatt, it goes through the supply line, and the remaining chill water having capacity of 75 kilowatt, it is stored in the storage tank. So in this case, the charging without a load or a negligible load happens. So no load is there. This is a third condition. The second condition we can say, charging without any load or negligible load we can say. Then the third mode of operation, that is discharging with chiller. In that case, suppose chiller capacity is still 100 kilowatt, but our demand is more than 100 kilowatt, so maybe around 150, 125 kilowatt. In that case, the chiller capacity is not sufficient to meet that demand. So under that circumstances, what will happen? The chiller supply the chill water of 100 kilowatt, and the remaining 25 kilowatt or maybe a 50 kilowatt, it is taken from the storage tank, and as it is a two-way valve, so it takes that 50 kilowatt from the storage tank, so to meet that particular demand. So this is a third mode of operation where discharging with chiller means chiller provides cooling load as well as the storage tank discharges, because some of the chill water is also utilized from this case. So this is a third mode of operation. The fourth mode of operation is discharging without chiller. So this mode is generally used if there is some breakdown of the chiller, so the entire load is taken care by this storage tank. So whatever the chill water stored in the storage tank, the same chill water is utilized for the cooling during the breakdown operation. Now this is the supply line. This is the return line from the load, and the return line from the load is generally, except in the breakdown condition, the return chill water is directly goes to the chiller for cooling of that, or to reduce the temperature of the chill water. So it is directly goes. So, but in other cases, only in the breakdown conditions, so the entire chill water, the return line, it enters into the tank, and from the tank again it goes to the supply line. So the chiller is completely bypassed under that circumstances. Otherwise, most of the return line, it is circular, it supplied to the chiller inlet with the help of chiller, because this is comparatively a warm water. So in order to remove the heat from this return line, it is made to flow through this chiller. So this is a typical operation of thermal storage system, and you might have realized if there is a variation in operations. So you can see the animation here. All the four operations we can observe with the help of animation, that is charging with chiller, charging with load, charging without load, then discharging with chiller, discharging without chiller. All the operations you can realize here, or you can observe with the help of this animation. So this is a schematic layout that especially for this kind of diagram you can draw in our examination answer sheet, because the previous diagram is a little bit complicated, but this diagram you can draw. But in this case, the chiller is not directly supplied to the building or the building load. The entire chill water is stored in the storage tank, and from the storage tank it pumps to the building load, and the return line it goes to the chiller, and only under the breakdown condition the return line goes to the storage tank. So that is the difference. Only unlike the previous diagram, this diagram here, the chiller is not directly connected to the building load. Via storage tank it goes to the building with the help of pumps. This is a variation of power consumption with and without TS. So the red line indicates the air conditioning system without thermal energy storage or without storage tank, we can say. And the blue line is the working of chiller with storage tank. So you can realize there is a variation in load. So the load varies from 0% to 100%. And but this is a load variation or without storage. As per the load variation, the chiller also varies its capacity accordingly. So if we observe this particular graph carefully, you can see the initial cost or the capacity required for meet this 100% load. Suppose this is 100 kilowatt system, 100 kilowatt load is expected, that is the maximum load. So without storage, you need to purchase the system of 100 kilowatt, even though it is required for a very small period of time, but in order to meet that load, your system capacity must be 100 kilowatt. But with storage, we can see almost 50% capacity system we can purchase. So even though your capacity is 100 kilowatt, still the 50 kilowatt system is sufficient to meet that particular capacity. So whatever the load, this load demand is there, that load demand we can utilize whatever the energy storage in low conditions. Another difference is that means the first difference we can realize that we can install the system having a less capacity of as that of a demand. That is the first advantage we can realize here. Another advantage we can realize, without storage, you have to continuously monitor or you continuously regulate the capacity of the system. So the better capacity control modulation technique should be used. That we already discussed in capacity control, that in second unit, that is compressor capacity modulation. So the compressor provided with capacity modulation and compressor provided without capacity modulation system. Almost there is a cost difference of 1.5 times. So 1.5 times to almost double cost the purchaser need to bear if they have to purchase the compressor with capacity modulation. But with the help of thermal storage system, we can purchase a compressor without any capacity modulation, because we can realize here the compressor running with almost same uniform capacity. So no complicated capacity modulation mechanism is required for compressor. So ultimately the compressor cost is reduced substantially. So these are the two major benefits of the thermal energy storage. Means the system along with the thermal storage device. Accordingly, the benefits of thermal storage system, its capital costs is reduced, as we already seen in previous slide, that we can install the capacity of the chiller less than the demand. It also saves the operating cost because as the compressor is running with almost uniform capacity or almost with full capacity. So obviously the compressor efficiency is maximum with full load. Part load efficiency of all the devices are generally less. So most of the devices, they are working with maximum close to maximum capacity. So they are working with full efficiency. So obviously it reduces the operating cost as well. We can augment existing plant capacity that we have realized even the 50 kilowatt capacity system can produce 100 kilowatt capacity, or it can meet the demand of 100 kilowatt as well. So the augmentation of existing plant capacity is also there. Efficiently meet high load diversity. So uh, the diversity in load or the load fluctuation can be efficiently met. Otherwise, if the devices, all the mechanical equipments, if they are working at very low capacity, they are working with a low efficiency as well. So that's why with the thermal energy storage, the tanks, it can efficiently meet that high fluctuation in the demand. Capable of earning 2 to 4 credits in lead energy, that is a rating system. So the rating can be enhanced. LEED is an agency which rates the energy efficiency. It reduces the required capacity of backup generation. So the backup required is also reduced to DG backup, because at the time of breakdown, some storage tank can be used. The energy which is stored, that can be used during breakdown conditions or shutdown conditions. So less capacity, DG capacity backup is also uh, required, or we can, it allows us to use the less backup as well, because already there is a thermal storage backup is available. So electricity backup requirement is less. Emergency cooling for mission critical loads. So emergency cooling it provides. This is a typical case study of HVAC electrical load conditions. So these are the mechanical equipments. So conventional power consumption and the system with thermal storage. Chiller, it almost reduces that 963 kVA energy is required. With thermal storage, it's only 489. Primary pumps, because pump is working with for continuously they are working, so the energy with thermal storage is more already. Even a secondary pump is also working with full capacity, so almost the secondary pump load is same. Condenser pumps, because already conventional system having a higher capacity, so the pump capacity is also higher. So system with thermal storage, it allows us to use the low capacity system. So consequently the condenser pump capacity is also less. Cooling tower, you can see also the energy consumption in cooling power tower, because of conventional system of higher capacity, the energy consumption of cooling tower is high. Because of the low capacity of thermal storage, energy consumption is less. So almost the total energy consumption, you can see almost 40-45% energy is reduced. This is operating cost, we can say it is reduced. So the reduction in HVAC electrical load for system with thermal storage is around 42%. 42% lesser electrical demand for HVAC. So obviously it demands less. 42% lesser DG backup for HVAC. So as the less demand, less DG backup is required. Lesser chiller, condenser pumps, and cooling tower for HVAC. So all the low capacity chillers, condenser pumps, and cooling towers are required. So this is a case study which shows that with thermal capacity storage system, it saves energy almost 42%. So this is a really a lucrative solution for air conditioning application where there is a fluctuation of load. Now these are some different models of thermal storage system. In this particular model, the chiller mainly produces glycol, and the glycol is being circulated through thermal storage coil tank, where it produces either ice or icy water, and that icy water is being circulated to the AHU, this is chill water coils, and depending upon the energy requirement, it extract the energy or extract the chill water, and the remaining chill water is stored here. So the separate glycol system is used. So different configurations are there. So this is the same diagram with a simplified version. Then ice harvesting system. So ice harvested chillers are there, so which produces ice blocks. So these ice blocks are fall in the storage tank. So it is a mixture of ice and water. So it is pumped to the building load. So the return, it comes to the ice harvesting chiller. With the help of this warm water, the block releases and it falls in the storage tank. So no load conditions, some energy is again then it is recirculated to production of ice block. So ice water is recirculated for the production of ice block. So this is the ice harvesting system. Similar pictorial wave as a similar diagram with the colorful diagram. Working principle is same as previous slide. The third commercial system, that is ice bear units. So this is ice bear unit, which mainly consists of coil. Which is generally used in combination with the traditional AC unit of varying capacity 3 to 20 TR. The ice coils are inserted in the package AC units, and one ice bear can support multiple package units. So this is ice coil, and through these coils the refrigerant flows. This is a separate unit, and surrounding is the water. So this water gets solidified because of absorption or release of heat. So this is when a partially storage of energy when it is fully charged. So this is fully charged ice bear. So that's why it is called as ice battery. And this ice battery, then the chill water is circulating from the bottom at the bottom of this tank. The chill water coil is circulated, and this chill water is cooled with the help of this ice. This chill water is circulated to this ice bear cooling coil. So there are two coils provided. This is a chill water cooling coil, and this is a conventional traditional AC evaporator. So when the load is more, then both coils are working. When there is a breakdown of this or any shutdown period, whatever the ice is stored in the tank, that ice produces the chill water, and that chill water is being circulated through this ice bear cooling system. So this way it works. So air from the conditioning room, generally warm air is made to flow over these coils, and this cold air is distributed to different rooms or different air conditioning rooms, we can say. So this is ice bear commercial unit. This is connected to the duct. So large installation also such kind of systems are used. Ice bear systems are also used in residential applications. So this is directly the ice bear unit. So when the load is less, it generates the ice. Otherwise, it cools the chill water, and then this chill water coils is fitted here, and the air is made to flow over this chill water coil to produce cooling. So it also store the energy when the demand is less. So for residential application, generally it works during the power shutdown period. So it enable IC replacement of 4 to 5 TR AC compressors. So it generates that much heat. So it also used for meeting the high demand as well. So can support residential application that uses ductless mini splits and traditional uh, ducted system also. This is ducted system and this is a split system. So this is a thermal storage because the ice tank is provided here as we have discussed in previous slide. So these are some, this is a typical thermal storage system. So at the end of this particular lecture, you should be able to identify different thermal storage substances, which substances are used, either icy water or chilled water or glycol. Then you should be able to explain the working of thermal storage system for different loading conditions. We have discussed almost 4 loading conditions. That is charging means charging of the storage tank, thermal storage tank, and discharging means removal of the whatever the energy stored there, removal of that. The cold energy which is stored in this case, it is removed. So there are 4 operation modes, that is charging with load, charging without load, discharging with chiller, and discharging without chiller. And under various circumstances, these mode of operations are taking place. Then the benefits of thermal storage system, the major 2 benefits you should be able to recall. Mainly it allows us to use the low capacity systems compared to the demand. And also it allows us to use compressors without any modulation mechanism. So these are the 2 biggest advantages. It saves capital cost as well as operating cost that we have discussed one case study also, how the energy is saved. So this is a small, the exam point of view, generally you need to prepare any one schematic diagram, that is with 4 operations and the benefits of the same, and the power consumption graph. So these are the 3 important diagrams, or 3 important bits you have to cover in the short note. But the questions, you can see the type of questions asked, the situational based questions are there. So under which circumstances this thermal storage device, the storage air conditioning system is used, especially in the load fluctuation case. So exam point of view, only the short note, that is explain the thermal storage system with the help of any schematic diagram with its advantages. With this, we have completed this particular system. Next lecture, we will discuss the 4th advanced air conditioning system, that is clean room air conditioning system. Thank you very much.